Hello. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about Femi Osofisan's play Wesoo Hamlet, or The Resurrection of Hamlet. So I've done a couple of other videos on plays by Osofisan, in which I established that he's one of my favorite playwrights, and that he is a master of adaptation. Wesoo Hamlet is in that same vein. It's an adaptation, obviously, of Shakespeare's Hamlet, set in West Africa, set in Yoruba land in Nigeria, and specifically concerned with globalized economics. So Osofisan approaches this very directly, but he also, I argue, approaches it in an indirect way. So basically the story roughly follows the story of Hamlet, in that there is a prince, Leto, who comes back to Nigeria after studying abroad. His father has died, his uncle has taken over as king, or Oba, which is the Yoruba word for king. So his uncle has become the Oba, married his mother. Leto's girlfriend is rather alienated by Leto's political concerns and his inability basically to make any time for her whatsoever. But there's also a communal concern here, because the new Oba Ayibi, is a sort of venture capitalist who wants to start a tobacco factory in the town. And in a flashback, so the ghost of Leto's father, Oba Sayadero, comes to Leto and gives him this sort of extended vision of the conflict between Sayadero and his brother Ayibi. So Leto gets a lot more information than Hamlet gets from the ghost of old Hamlet in the Shakespeare version. But we get this lengthy flashback where Oba Sayadero announces to Ayibi that he is withdrawing permission to build this tobacco factory. He says, "And the pollution that will follow, how many dollars will it cost to deal with it? What price shall we have to pay for the potential invalids? Listen, my dear brother, I know how painful it all must be, this decision that I've taken, but we cannot always put money before everything. We must think of the future of our people." And then a little further along, he says, "I'd rather be poor, poorer even than a rat, than make money the way you do on the blood of your own people. Oh, I know it does not matter to you how many people die or what the rest have to endure, as long as your profit swells in the bank." So I think that's good enough. So this is the reason that Ayibi kills Sayadero, is that Sayadero withdraws that permission to build that tobacco factory. So it is much more clearly an economic motive than we have in Shakespeare's Hamlet. Leto also makes the same accusations later on to his uncle, that he is enriching himself on the blood of their people, that he is basically a sort of running dog lackey for the global capitalists who are moving factories for things like tobacco out of the global north and into the global south as a way of sort of offshoring the environmental and public health costs. So, I mean, in that sense, there is a very direct global economic concern here, but there's also an interesting globalized culture, or what I would call a cultural commonwealth, that Osofisan taps into in this. And I actually think he does this consistently across his adaptations of European plays. So I think we see this as well in Women of Owu, which I've done a video on, as well as Tigoni, which is an adaptation of Antigone. So this idea that different cultural elements, different cultural texts, different cultural forces can be effectively blended together, I think is really, really central to Osofisan's work. So I want to share with you this bit from the prologue, because we get this very directly right from the beginning, this idea that cultures are interconnected, or can be interconnected. So the prologue begins with a dance of masks, which in Yoruba tradition, in West African tradition, represents different spirits or different deities. So into this dance of masks comes the messenger who makes this announcement. He says, "Right now a situation is brewing somewhere in Yoruba land which echoes another one of many centuries ago. A drama that you, Shakespeare, are you there?" So he is actually he's picking out one of the masks as the spirit of Shakespeare. "Yes, the story that you once put in a play that has become famous. Orunmila," and that's a Yoruba deity, of the afterlife, I believe, has decided that some of you who were prominent in that earlier drama should return now to participate again in its recurrence in Yoruba land, in the hope that the tragedy that is about to break may be averted. So as I call you out now, you will go and prepare to regain your former human forms, but, I warn you, this time as Africans, the same color of skin as your hosts." He consults his tablet as he calls out, "Hamlet, Claudius, Ophelia," the masks step out. "Please go with me now for further briefing." So this is a really interesting prologue because it's set in the Yoruba spirit world, the Yoruba concept of the afterlife. And we have here both Shakespeare, who was English, as well as Hamlet, Claudius, and Ophelia, who are A, fictional, and B, Danish. But they're all existing in this African afterlife, this Yoruba afterlife. And at the bidding of a Yoruba deity, they reassume human forms, this time as Africans. So this is one of the elements that we get of this sort of cultural interconnection that's really, really central to Osofisan's work. And I think we actually have a great sort of mission statement in this play about that. Because at one point, Leto and Tundun, who's the Ophelia character that he largely ignores, until she actually goes and burns down Ayibi's factory, which is much more badass than Ophelia drowning herself. But Leto says, "Tundun, the challenge is for us, for the youths of my generation, but unfortunately we do not have the answers here. To find them we must travel out to learn from others, from those who started earlier than us." So this is, I think, again, specifically in reference to ways of navigating global capitalism, because that's the only way I can make sense of the idea of those who started earlier than them, because of, obviously, European and North American industrialization started before this, which is set in the 1970s, I think. So there is that element, but there's also that element of we have to learn from other cultures. And for me, the implication here is also other cultures should be learning from us. So not just we Africans or we Nigerians should be taking lessons from Europeans. Also, Europeans should be learning from our experience. However, even though Osofisan is encouraging intercultural learning, he's very clear that this should be critical learning, that Africans should be taking positive lessons, and they should be skeptical, they should be critical, they should be aware of the failures of European and North American industrialization, and vice versa, that we in the US, Canada, Europe, wherever it is, that we should also be thinking critically about what we can draw from African cultures, from other cultures, indigenous cultures, Latin American cultures, East Asian cultures, Middle Eastern cultures, whatever it is. And part of the reason that we get that, or part of the way in which we get that caveat, is that Claudius sabotages the plan. So Orunmila has sent Hamlet, Claudius, and Ophelia back to Yoruba land to try and prevent the bloody slaughter that ends Shakespeare's Hamlet. Hamlet and Ophelia have attempted to do that, so they've come up with a plan whereby Ayibi can be defeated by Leto without everyone having to die. The problem is, Claudius comes up with his own plan. And when Hamlet asks why he's doing this, why he's betrayed their plan to Ayibi so that Ayibi can kill Leto, Claudius says, "I'll tell you, because I too, I need to redeem myself. All these centuries that I've borne the opprobrium of men, how do you think I feel? Each time they told our story, who was always the villain, always the scoundrel, always the evil one? Claudius. Yes, me. Such a long and painful burden of shame. How do you think I've felt? But you were the heroes, Hamlet, Ophelia. You were the ones everyone sought to be, the ones remembered with affection. But Claudius? Claudius. Well, now at last all that's going to change. The history books will be rewritten. The fable will reconstruct itself. This time one person alone will be left standing among all the corpses, and it'll be me. Me, my reincarnated self. Me to bury you all and establish my own glory at last." So, and then Ophelia gives us, this I think is another really important sort of one-off line. Ophelia says, "I've tried my best, I know, if only men would not insist on repeating our errors." So we've got here this threatening component of European experience alongside the beneficial components. So Hamlet and Ophelia attempt to prevent everyone from dying, but Claudius ensures that the cycle will repeat itself. He reestablishes the conflict that does eventually kill pretty much everybody in Wesoo Hamlet. So, for me, the message, the upshot of Wesoo Hamlet is that when one culture or one nation, one economy, whatever it is taking from others, is learning from others, is developing along the lines that others have previously done, they need to be very cautious, and they need to be very careful, because A, they can repeat the same mistakes that the previous culture has done, and B, that there's always a danger when you take from others that you will lose the distinctiveness of your own experience, that your experience will be overwritten by the previous group or the previous culture's experience. So Claudius is able to reimpose the Hamlet story, even though that's not his intention officially, to the detriment of the Nigerians who Orunmila has attempted to save.